Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a little different video than I usually do. We're going to be talking about this series, The Naturals. And warning, this video is all spoilers. I talked about every thoughts and about all the events that happened. If you have read the series, then welcome. And I will make sure to give you the timestamps to each book so that even if you've only read the first book, you can see my thoughts for that. If you've only read these two, then you can see all those thoughts. So here are those time slots per book. Okay, so The Naturals. This is the first book. And this was easily my favorite out of all these three, but these three did get high ratings as well. I like the way that we were introduced to Cassie. I like how we were at a diner and she was working, but I also liked that the U chapter was the very first chapter. And the entire time that we were reading the U chapters, it's crazy that we were inside Lot's mind. Reading the part that was 3 months after was interesting because it turned out that Lot was doing this while everybody was gone on trips and stuff. But it was also surprising that Locke was Cassie's mom's younger sister. And the ending was definitely fast-paced. And I thought the entire time that Locke was the one who killed Cassie's mom, but it did not turn out that. So that was interesting. Okay, the second book, Killer Instinct. First of all, the ending was crazy. The fact that the killer was after Cassie again, and this time got her and Sterling away from the other group and into secluded forest woods, was crazy. I easily guessed Clark as a killer, just from the moment we met him, and the moment after that when they were the killer would be this and this. And I was like, wow, that perfectly describes Clark, so that didn't come as a surprise. Now, it's the second killer being Christopher. When we met him, something was off, so it didn't really surprise me. But the third killer, and the fact that there was 3, not 2, is crazy. So the third killer, Weber, that I didn't know we had enough. I don't know if I missed something, but from the one time I think that Sterling had interacted with him was at the police station, and just because he didn't like how she bossed him around, even though she is a special agent in the FBI, that took enough fuel for him to want to be able to kill her and Cassie. Yeah, but the fact that Weber did 4 out of the 5, I think, killings was not what I expected. Okay, first of all, so this is the third book all in. The fact that they are now able to work on active cases and not just cold cases, I was so happy about, because in the first 2 books, I was kind of frustrated that they had to work on cold cases, which never seemed to be any that they were working on. Besides, not really any. And they only really worked on one, I think, introduced at the beginning. So the only really cold case they worked on was the Mackenzie McBride case, and I think that one was at the beginning of Killer Instinct, I think. And they had to work on all the other cases in secret, and they would get in trouble if they were caught doing them. And then when the news that a body, presumed, that possibly was her presumed dead mother's, she kind of just shut everybody out, and she didn't tell anybody till a game of Truth or Dare. In this book, which in Truth or Dare, a lot of stuff came to light about the fact what Leah's past was. In this book, Sloane got the recognition that she deserved. Sloane is easily one of my favorite characters, and she was definitely the real hero in this. She was doing all the math. She found out what like how the order they were doing it, to find out all the dates they were doing it, and it was a spiral. So, and then of course when everybody thought Michael was the one the killer was going after, so then it was a little distraction. They had the numbers on his wrist, of course, right? So they dressed him in a bulletproof vest, and they didn't think to do any other security on any other possible targets. They just thought, wow, Michael, number on wrist, has to be him, right? So then the lights go out, and when the lights come back on, you find out that no, it was not Michael. Michael is perfectly unharmed. He is okay. It was a distraction. It was Aaron who the killer went after. And when Aaron died, I felt so bad for Sloane, because Sloane doesn't know any of her family, and none of her family really wants to know her. Her dad doesn't want to, but her brother was actually making an effort to know her. And Sloane was grateful for that, I think. You can tell. So when Aaron was killed, yeah. The fourth book, Bad Blood. This also includes the novella, but that's going to be a whole different little section, just in case you have not read the novella. Okay, let's start off with Lauren. I feel so bad for Lauren. She's only 4 years old, and everything she had went through is crazy. I can't believe that Director Sterling was a master, even though they had to be getting their knowledge about like the FBI somewhere. It didn't really click that it would be Director Sterling. And then the part where Cassie had to kill her mom, and even though that was like not even a minute before the FBI stormed in, was so sad, because maybe she could have held off another minute, so then she would still be with her mom. I'm really glad that Lauren was safe. She didn't have to go through the trials or anything. I'm really glad that she was safe, and even though she was only 4 and everything she went through, she didn't have to go through those 3 trials. Also, when Ree turned out to be a master, why? I loved Ree so much. She was so nice. And well, I'm glad that Celine survived that encounter, the poisoning and everything. But I do wonder, where was Celine when that entire thing happened? I don't know if I missed that or something, but I do know that Celine was slumped over in the booth. Someone also must have seen something, maybe. And then when TA, teacher's assistant Jeffrey, not really surprised me when we met him in Killer Instinct, I think it was. Yeah, there was something off about him. Okay, and then novella 12, which I don't have like an actual physical copy. I don't know if you can get it, but so 12. I think it's crazy to see them 5 years older. So they're 23 now. They're not 17 like they were in the other 4 books. Now, I don't rate novellas just because we don't have a lot of time with the situation that's happening or the characters in it. So like not enough time for me to really make a judgment. It would be like reading a really thin book like this, or even thinner, and then having to rate the characters and how, like, if you got in depth with them. But this would have easily been a 4.75 to 4.5 to 4.75 star book. Well, novella. I honestly thought it was going to be The Psychologist, just because that's who they first assumed it was, and it had to be someone in the health field, the mental health field. So my brain immediately went to The Psychologist, not the crisis negotiator person. And then Celine killing the crisis negotiator, is that his title is, person, was a little extreme, I feel like, because I did that. He was going to push Mackenzie off the edge, but with all that Mackenzie had been through, maybe Celine didn't have to do that, so that would add to her trauma that she'd already been through. She was kidnapped when she was 6 years old. And then the crisis expert negotiator, the way that he thought that it was mercy, like giving that little nudge for them to do it, is really twisted, and I think that his mindset, that was just really twisted and total. But in all, this series really good. Like 4.5, 4.75 star series right here. And if you haven't read the series, but you've already watched through the entire video and you're like, there's not really any worth in reading the series because I just got a simple version of everything that happened, I would still recommend to read it, even though all the plot twists aren't going to be as they were written to be, but there's still some stuff that I definitely forgot or missed covering, because I wrote all the summaries after I read the books. So I wrote the first summary after I read these two, and then I wrote the third summary after I read this, and then it was a few hours after I read Bad Blood that I wrote the summary, so they may be a little off, or some topics may have gotten lost in my memory, but I would still recommend reading it if you really want to. Alright, I want to thank you guys for watching, and make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to stay tuned for next week's video. Goodbye!